Hey, so we've talked before about cultural values and the importance of both influencing your child raising if you're in interracial marriage and have biracial kids. And I want to just talk about that a little bit more down to the nitty gritty, because the reality is your biracial kids can have the best of both worlds if both worlds are allowed to influence that child. If the child is only influenced by one, then they're not going to have the best of both worlds. So, I am not in an interracial marriage, but I am in a multicultural marriage, in that my husband is Jamaican. He's a West Indian, and West Indians and Americans do things different. And so there was constant sort of talking back and forth when our kids were babies and toddlers, and even still now. So I remember, in the sort of infant phase when you desperately want sleep, there was no way my husband was going to let an 8-pound infant cry it out. The sort of cry it out phenomenon is kind of a Western thing, and that just felt completely unnatural to him. And as long as he was willing to share the burden of getting up with the child, I conceded on that, because honestly, crying it out just was really uncomfortable for me too. Um, I sort of wanted to have toys, a basket of toys in every room, so that if I was folding the laundry in one room, there would be a basket of toys there. And my husband's like, "No, they have a bedroom. We have a family room that's littered with toys. We don't need to have toys dominate the house." In his view, kids should not dominate the house. The house needs to be, we both work hard to keep it neat and clean, and there's not going to be toys in the bathroom. He felt very strongly that there's no need to cook something different. If the child doesn't like what I've cooked, then too bad. They will not starve themselves. That's just sort of unnatural. No human being starves themselves purposely. So I never, mac and cheese is not a thing in Jamaica. So I just never cooked them anything different. And now they kind of eat everything. There's no way they were going to, even when adults said, "Call me by Jane" or "Call me by Sue," there was no way we were going to let our kids call adults by the first names. Sleepovers, slumber parties are not a thing in the West Indies. And so my husband did not feel comfortable with that. And honestly, growing up, I did do slumber parties, but they were always really, I always had a terrible time. It was always a lonely time for me. So it was easy for me to concede and say, "Okay, no slumber parties. We don't have to do that kind of American thing." On my side, on his side, where he sort of conceded was, he had a very much what I say goes kind of attitude sometimes with our kids. And I was able to prevail on him and say, they're people. Let them express, let them make an appeal to the decision that you're making, and just hear them out. And so he was able to sort of stop lecturing and demanding and just listen to them. And even at the end of the day, if his what he said goes, that's fine, but at least they got to speak. They were people. They were treated respectfully like people. Um, for West Indians, a dirty car full of food is like the plague. But I said to him, and so he didn't want snacks in the car. As a matter of fact, he didn't even really grow up eating snacks. It was just 3 solid meals a day, no snacks. But I was like, "Look, this is going to be an hour-long trip. There's no way I'm going to listen to fussy, hungry kids. So there's going to be snacks in the car." So my car has always been dirty, and his car has always been clean. Um, there were times when respect is very important in the West Indies, but there were times where I knew, especially with one of our sons, that when he was overstimulated, there is no way he can control the tone of his voice and say something perfectly respectfully. It was going to come out yuck, and my husband and I needed to be bigger. We're the adults, we're the more mature ones, and we just needed to give him space to to not be respectful, and to not demand that when he was just incapable of having a respectful tone in that moment. I prevailed that going out and playing in the rain on a summer day will not kill them. There's this crazy thing in Jamaica where, you don't go out in the rain. But I was like, it's 80 degrees and raining. What a great time to be outside. So he realized, yeah, that's true. And I tend to be a little bit more health conscious. So I was like, no, they're not going to drink sweet drinks morning, noon, and night, Kool-Aid, Pepsi, blah, blah, blah. No, they need to learn how to drink water. So that was something that he realized, with diabetes running in both of our families, that this was an important thing. So it's important to realize, I realized that if you are both humble, you and your spouse who are raising this child are both humble, and you realize that your way is not the only way, it's a way, and you both respect each other and give and take, then your kids will have the best of both worlds. See you next time.